wonderful day here in the neighborhood, except Mr. Rogers isn't here because he would probably think there were those loud jerks next door that just wouldn't shut crap up. Welcome to the show that puts the crazy in really, really crazy. See, Brian still hasn't given me a list, so I can't come up with any more. This is Wrestling with Egos. My name is Patrick, and as always, I am joined by our intellectual savior, the teacher of this classroom, and one damn fine human being, one hell of a model American. My good friend Brian, how are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Patrick. Another great wrestling week, and we're here to break it all down for you. Conspicuous by his absence, of course, is the AEW assassin. RJ is not here today. He is a little under the weather, a little run down. So we said, you know what, take the night off, get yourself right, and we look forward to having him back next week. How are you, good sir?
I am wonderful. Been a little bit of a rough week. Not gonna lie, I do tend to vent on this show, and as I've said plenty of times on these 30 episodes of Wrestling with Egos, mental health ain't no joke. We'll just leave it at that. Had a couple rough days. Brian, you know my story better than anybody, so you can empathize.
Yes, I can.
I gotta start listening to my own advice because I keep telling you guys, if you're in that situation, reach out to people. Well, I didn't reach out to people. You know, Brian can tell you his phone didn't ring at any point this week when it came to, yep. Brian's like, nope, I know nothing about this. My phone did not ring. It did not go, hey, that jerk is calling. So, yeah.
But it's okay because I reached out to you a little bit to see how things are going, and I'm glad that things are turning around somewhat. So
yeah, things are turning around, and it's yeah. So, just bottom line it. If you guys are the praying type, I wouldn't mind a little thrown my way. Just saying. We got so much to talk about, and because next week is gonna be gigantic, because not only is it the premiere episode of SmackDown live on Fox on Friday, but next Wednesday it is a NXT championship match and the debut of AEW Dynamite, and which we've been building towards for 30 flipping episodes. This has been a thing, especially ever since RJ joined us. This has really become a thing. So figured since this is the calm before the storm, we'd have a little fun. We'll talk some of the goings on this week, and then we'll end it with part 3 of our GOAT discussion. One phenomenal AJ Styles. Looking really damn forward to that. Well, Bubba, let's get this show on the road, man. What you think?
We will get this show on the road, but first, something you just said reminded me. I want to actually send a big thank you, a heartfelt thank you to RJ for the dimension that he's added to Wrestling with Egos. I think, I know that you, as a connoisseur of the wrestling product, are in tune with a lot of other promotions outside of WWE. Me being a dyed-in-the-wool WWE guy, admittedly, unashamedly, not so much. So the fact that RJ brings another added dimension beyond what you bring and gets me especially in tune with what's happening in AEW, what's happening in New Japan, what's happening in all these other promotions. I am deeply appreciative to him for the dimension that he brings. And for all you cats out there in Wrestling with Egos land, you're wondering, well, how do I get a little piece of this action? There's so many ways you can get in touch with us. You can email the show at wrestlingwithegos@gmail.com. We have a repository, a Google site that has all of our past episodes, and I finally found some time this week to go back and clean it up. I put all our homeworks going back to, I think, the end of July. Sorry, guys. But all of our homeworks are archived there. Previous episodes can be found there. I still have to patch some of those more recent audio files in, but they're there as well. That can be found at bit.ly/with egos. And then the old Twitter machine. You can always reach all of us on Twitter, give us an idea for a segment, respond to a bar talk that we've had, respond to the greatest of all time discussion that is ongoing. Your boy Patrick can be reached at Rant Mode On. That's with one N at the end of that. The AEW assassin RJ can be found on Twitter at RJ Eman, but there's two E's at the end of that. We don't want you to get confused. And then, of course, your humble. What?
2 E's?
Did I say two E's again?
Yes, you did.
This is ridiculous. I really need to write this down if I'm going to do this properly. There's two N's at the end of it. Two E's, two N's. I don't know. Partridge in a pear tree and all that jazz. You're somewhat confused sometimes. Intellectual savior of the wrestling masses can be found on Twitter at bcrigo15. And now, on with the show, as they say, for your heaping helping of Wrestling with Egos.
And now, your feature presentation. Man, so much happened this week, and I think it's safe to say this was the last chance WWE had to get some momentum built up before winter is coming, to throw out a Game of Thrones reference.
Yeah.
Because next Wednesday is winter.
Quick question for you then.
Yeah.
Looking at the totality of it, and I know we're going to dive in a little bit deeper to things that are going on in NXT, some things that are going on in Raw and SmackDown. If you were going to put a number value on the past month-ish for the totality of WWE, how they've done in terms of trying to either regenerate or just out and out generate some buzz for their product as a whole. Like if we're going to go on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the most amount of momentum you can generate, what number would you put on that?
I see. The thing is, if you were asking now, you're talking like in the last couple of months.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just,
right.
Because obviously we're, I'll just throw some names out there. This includes the fact that you've got Bray Wyatt doing Bray Wyatt things, and we're all here for that. That includes the great work that Becky, Charlotte, Sasha, and Bayley have been doing for the women's division. Seth Rollins is still plugging along, whether we like him or don't like him as champion right now. He's handling all comers. You've got Baron Corbin and how he's been elevated as a heel, doing the King of the Ring tournament. Then you've got what they're doing with Roman and Daniel Bryan on SmackDown, making chicken salad out of chicken you-know-what with that angle. It was, for a long time, it was a terrible story that they were telling. It started out great.
That'd be great, yeah.
And it turned into something terrible, and now they're trying to do their best to make it into something great again. And then the Shane and Kevin Owens thing, and then all the stuff they're doing at NXT with Velveteen Dream and Matt Riddle and Walter and all these people. I'm just kind of saying, look at the totality over the course of the past 2+ months.
Okay, 2+ months. If you're counting in the last, 90 days, so we'll say, throw that number out there. I like that. 90 days. I'd have to give it a 7, maybe a 6.5, because if you're talking about the last 90 days. The first 30 of those 90 days was utter hot garbage. I mean, we're talking New York Jets meets
Miami Dolphins.
Miami Dolphins meets the 1999 Tampa Bay Devil Rays.
And you might as well throw in a heavy dose of my recently eliminated from playoff contention 2019 Chicago Cubs. Okay, I'm done. Keep going.
He's not better. Anyway, moving right along. The first third of this 90-day window we're looking at. I'm trying to watch my language. It's a 4-letter word that begins with the letter S and ends with the letter T.
Excrement?
Yes, poop. It's the poop emoji.
You should find one of those to just drag it across the screen as we're talking.
I'm gonna try. I'm gonna try my best, man. And it gradually got better, but the first third of it was so bad. It's nothing better than a 6.5 or a 7. Now, if you're asking me, Brian, to look at it from just the last 30 days, easily an 8. Easily an 8. Because they've ramped it up, because now the visions of both Bischoff and Heyman are starting to take shape. And you're starting to see just what Raw and SmackDown are going to be with them at the helm. And I like what I'm seeing. Raw hasn't sucked in a couple of weeks consecutively, and that hadn't happened in a while. SmackDown really hasn't sucked much, period, but it's definitely been good in the last 30 days. And especially, I've always thought NXT was the better product across the board from all three of the brands in WWE.
Yes.
But even NXT has ramped everything up in the last 3 weeks. The last 3 episodes of NXT have been just ultra aggressive in terms of action and storytelling, and not trying to, they're still slow playing stuff, but they're not like NXT only in Full Sail without doing takeovers outside of Full Sail, slow playing stuff.
They maintain their sense of urgency otherwise.
Yeah, they have their own sense of urgency and they're maintaining it. It's not a, hey, we have to blow through this storyline to get to the next one, to get to the next one, to get to the next one. So over the last 90 days, I'll be generous. 6. 6 over the last 90 days. Over the last,
I'm in agreement with you. I would also say 7. And I almost hate to admit this, but there's this nagging thought in the back of my head that the quality of storyline, and maybe this is what we always wanted, iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
They say AEW is not a threat, but everything that they're programming us with tells us otherwise. You're seeing people get pushes you never would have seen get pushes before. We're seeing more of Chad Gable, for example. We're seeing more Ricochet. We're seeing more, Rusev is back, and I think they're wisely pretending that Maria Kanellis thing never even happened. He's just back to wrestling and, look at my mustache and that sort of thing.
That's a mustache, by the way.
Yeah. So I would say a 7 also. And it's the kind of sense of urgency they haven't had since, let's be frank with ourselves here, since WCW was still a player, going back to the late 90s, early 2000s. So, yeah.
And truth be told, I love it because
me too. You want compelling television.
Exactly, and we're getting it. We're getting great storylines. And we're not just getting great storylines. We're also getting great matches.
Yep.
Most everybody is throwing out their best work.
It's not 7 minutes of rest holds and drop kicks. It's great matches.
Right. I'll save one person for our yes/no segment that we're going to do later on. Because I got a bone to pick. But let's get into NXT.
Sure.
We roll right into a lot of really great storylines. We had a great number 1 contenders match between Matt Riddle and Killian Dane. I could watch those two dudes beat the crap out of each other all day long. That's probably my best ass-kicking thing you can see in NXT, except one other match, and we'll talk about that one in a minute because that happened last night as well. But such a good match. I really like the fact that we're seeing Killian Dane for what he is, away from Sanity. And we're seeing this just big, hairy Irish monster that is really good in the ring, can move, and is uber physical. I mean, he's no Matt Technician. Huh?
He's double tough.
He's double tough. He's no Matt Technician by any stretch of the imagination. You're never going to see him go hold for hold with someone like Rusev, another super heavyweight who is really good on the mat. But for what he is, oh crap, he's fun to watch. Matt Riddle, I'm still not really sold on him. I don't know what it is. Mrs. Rant Mode on can't stand him. I don't know. She's just done with it. But I understand the appeal of Matt Riddle. His striking is superb. But there's just something about him I don't like. Well, they beat the fool out of each other. Matt Riddle won. So next week on NXT, it is Matt Riddle challenging for the NXT Championship against Adam Cole, baby.
Let me ask you a question about Matt Riddle. It just came to me.
Okay.
And maybe you're going to think this is a pointless question to ask. Do barefoot wrestlers have limitations?
Yeah, no.
Okay, because I've often wondered that about, because when Rusev first came out, he had his feet taped.
Yes, but I would say the only limitation is a potential increase in injury.
That's exactly why I asked that question.
Rusev jacked his ankle up because he was wrestling barefoot. Kevin Von Erich, though, obviously this was way before you were into wrestling and in a different promotion. But you can check all of the Von Erich stuff out on the WWE Network under World Class Championship Wrestling.
I've seen enough to remember him.
Oh yeah, Kevin Von Erich always wrestled barefoot, and Kevin Von Erich was, for that time, probably like the freak athlete of that time. High flyer, beautiful drop kick. Oh, sweet Lord. We're talking like drop kick, oogling at his drop kick like people oogled at B. Brian Blair's. No, I'm sorry, Jim Brunzell's. Like people oogled over Bob Holly's, over Randy Orton's, over Kazuchika Okada. Just that, because the drop kick is a thing of beauty if it's done right, and people just, I don't know, that's just one of those tried and true moves. Yeah. But for a injury standpoint, I agree. There are some limitations, but as far as what you're able to do in the ring, yeah, I don't buy it.
Okay.
And my beef isn't the fact that he wrestles barefoot. It's just something about him. It's not the fact that I don't like him. I like him. But it's just like, you're fun to watch, dude, but you're just not, as I use the phrase on the show every once in a while, you're just not blowing my skirt up, man. I mean, cool.
Do you think his character needs more depth?
Yeah.
Because I feel like when he talks, he always talks like a surfer dude.
Oh yeah, and
you need modulation.
That's the gimmick. He is that bro. He is like totally that surfer dude. Kind of reminds me like Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles. But thank you. I think he needs some more depth. See, here's the thing. He has all this MMA experience. He's a submission artist. Why not be more of an asshole? I mean, not necessarily like go heel, but like just a badass. Run through somebody instead of putting on a great show. I mean, granted, putting on a great show was a cool thing when you're able to do some of the moves that Matt Riddle can do, like that top rope move, that floating bro, I think they call it. His skill, his moveset is really cool. But me, maybe it's just the fact that I'm a little bit darker, but I wouldn't mind seeing a little bit more ass kickery out of him.
Right.
But he is a different drink at the bar as opposed to a lot of other people who strike and have similar styles like Matt Riddle. Matt Riddle's a different type of drink.
Agreed.
Like I said, it's not all my bag. I dig it to a degree, but not like, I like this guy. Not like, Walter or obviously Ciampa Gargano, Adam Cole. Yeah, Adam Cole, Pete Dunne. Those are guys in NXT that I'll watch ad nauseum. But you know,
Another question for you. I'll throw a quick over under at you. Over under 3 months for Undisputed Era to hold all the titles.
Over.
3 months would take us through Royal Rumble.
Over.
Okay.
Mania weekend.
Okay.
Pay up. Mania week. NXT is going to treat Mania weekend just like the payoff, just like main roster would. We had a couple other cool things. We had the other 3 members of Imperium: Alexander Wolf, Fabian Eichner, and Marcel Bartel. I could watch Bartel and Eichner all flipping day long. It's Alexander Wolf, but the other 2, hell yes, up against Kushida and 2 partners of his choosing, which came out to be Breezango. Hell yes. Love me some Breezango. Love Tyler Breeze. Always love Tyler Breeze's work. Those 3 got the win, and then Kushida got jumped by Walter, which means we're going to end up with Kushida and Walter for the UK title. Yes, please. Give me that like 9 falls out of 11. Best of 11 falls. Give me like a 120-man Iron Man match for that crap. Hell yes. Good match. And then and obviously this is in no particular order. We also had Dominik Dijakovic and Keith Lee. And Brian, I know, unfortunately, you didn't have time to watch that one because you mentioned that during our pre-show meeting. And
remind me really quickly, Dijakovic. I hope I probably butchered his name. He's the air guitar guy.
No, that's Bugenhagen.
Okay.
Dijakovic is the big tall dude with blonde hair.
Gotcha. Okay.
Big tall dude with blonde hair. That when he walks to the apron and he's gonna step up to the apron, he does this junk to grab the top rope. That guy, who's a hell of a talent. But so Keith Lee and Dominik Dijakovic, they kind of beat the living out of each other. Hard hitting match. It ends. Dijakovic, I can't remember what move he hit, but he goes for the pin on Keith Lee, and Keith Lee sits up while holding Dijakovic like we would a baby, just holding him in like Mark Henry would hold somebody for the world's strongest slam. Rolls backwards and picks him up, flips him onto his shoulders in a fireman's carry position, and then goes up and hits that. Brian, he's got him. Does that thing, like John Cena would do for the AA. He's got him in fireman's carry, and then he hits his finish, which is essentially a fireman's carry jackhammer.
I'm just trying to figure out the physics of all this.
just when you get a chance, watch it. It's awesome. What a damn move! What a damn match! What a damn finish! I got a problem. One problem with that match, and it pisses me off, dude, because
to the point of
don't beat me to the good part. We have so many great moves in wrestling that we spoil. And it's pointless. And to that end, I gotta go rant mode on this. Anyway, okay, so midway through, 3/4 of the way through this match, Dijakovic hits a avalanche, off the top rope. Lee's standing on the second rope. Dijakovic flips over with Keith Lee, like how they would do that sunset flip powerbomb, except it's not a sunset flip powerbomb. It's an avalanche Canadian destroyer. Flip Keith Lee's big gigantic ass flips over with him, pile driver. Keith Lee flips over. 2 count. What in the name of Zeus's butthole are you doing? That move right there, I've never seen that on WWE programming. And you're going to tell me that's only going to get a 2 count? That move is less damning than Keith Lee's fireman's carry jackhammer, whatever he calls that thing. Which, don't get me wrong, sweet move, but really? We have these amazing moves that people do. I'll give you another great example. Very recently on SmackDown, Buddy Murphy hit Roman bleeping Reigns with this combination. Consecutive moves, Brian. A running knee to the face while Roman was against the ropes. It kind of looked, and by kind of, I mean really, looked like Kenny Omega's V-trigger. As he's down on it, Roman's down on his face. Buddy Murphy picks him up, holds him by both arms, and rams his knee into Roman's face, which looks a whole lot like Kota Ibushi's finisher. Then picks him up and hits a brainbuster. 2 count. I'm sorry, but in reality, if you hit those 3 consecutive moves,
Count to 20.
you can count to 100. But no, 2 count. Because you know what? You got to hit your finisher. You know what? Yeah, you might have a finisher, but sometimes you're going to pull out something a little bit nastier, and everybody's just going to go, "Oh crap, he's dead." You know, and that's what bothers me. We never can escalate things. It's always got to be, doesn't matter how crazy the match gets. You got to do the finish. Roman Reigns could literally take someone up top and do a top rope brainbuster and get a 2 count because, damn it, he's got to get the Superman punch in and he's got to get the spear. But a top rope brainbuster through 2 flaming tables won't get a 2 count. I mean, won't get a 3 count. We have become, as a culture, as wrestling fans, so spot heavy that we're wasting these moves. John Cena used to do a stunner, and it's ridiculous. There's this thing called raising the bar. And if you raise the bar on a move, that should be even worse than your finish. Like, oh my God, he pulled that one out of his ass. What a finish. Nope. It's got to be that guy's finisher. I mean, Kofi could do something completely. Kofi could do a top rope powerbomb and then kick out just so Kofi could hit Trouble in Paradise. You mean to tell me Trouble in Paradise is more deadly than a top rope powerbomb? Kiss my ass. Hey, you know what? Walter finishes with a powerbomb. Guess how he won the NXT, the UK title from Pete Dunne? Top rope powerbomb. Did Pete Dunne kick out? No. And it's our fault because we've gotten so spot heavy. It's our fault because we demand more, but the problem is the people booking this crap don't realize, hey, well, if we escalate things, we can finish with this instead of what you normally do. But we just got to have spot after spot after spot just to get to the good old garden variety finish. Why not get to the garden variety finish, realize that crap ain't gonna work tonight, and then you got to pull out something nasty? I don't know. I'm just doing a YouTube show that has maybe about 30 followers. I ain't got a job doing this. Why? I don't know. I probably know more than some of these yahoos, but that's just me. Rant mode off.
When you do get a job writing for them, just make sure you send me a swag bag.
You coming with me? I get a job writing this crap. We ain't doing this show anymore because I'm gonna be in charge of something, and you guys gonna be with me. We'll be working together.
Okay, well, I got my pen right here.
Yeah, right, man. It's just real stupid. All right, so before we get to go ahead.
I do have a bit of a procedural NXT question for you, and it has to do with the format of how this show is going to work now that it's live on USA on Wednesdays.
Yep.
Is the plan always going to be for it to be the first hour on USA and the rest of it on the network, or eventually will all of it be on USA?
Starting next week, all on USA.
Because the Lovebird was asking me about that, and I didn't have an answer for her. I don't know.
I know at least for a fact next week it's all 2 hours on USA. And I'm going to be honest, it'd be stupid if it wasn't the case because winter is coming. Winter is coming.
It makes sense to do that now.
I'm going to tell you right now, the explosion you guys see at the beginning of our show, it's going to be blue next week. And the title of next week's show is Winter is Coming. I may even throw the Game of Thrones theme in there as the intro. I don't know.
I just got an idea of a prop I could use for that too. I'm not going to spoil it.
Speaking of props, I realized before the show started, I don't have a shelf behind me. I have curtain like our good old boy RJ does. But I have some swag, and it comes from a certain family that lives in a house with a brick wall that may or may not be right there. When your best friend and his wife not only give you and Mrs. Rent Mode on a wonderful wedding card and wedding gift, which we both thank you for, but when your birthdays are 4 days apart, there's birthday presents involved. And your boy Brian right there hooked your boy up with The Undertaker. There's shout out to Teddy Long. And also a stress ball. There's a camera. Stress ball Seth Rollins. So anytime I'm watching really crappy wrestling and I'm getting pissed off, I can just squeeze Seth Rollins. Maybe it'll be like a voodoo doll. Because
God, he's dead.
I'm getting kind of soured on Seth Rollins. So anyway, I would like to get. Oh, and I get to use another birthday present I got. I would like to transition into our next segment. It's actually become a very popular one for us, and it also became a moment where Brian and RJ both got to have fun at my expense last week. It's time to break out the cards because it's time for either yes or no. Yeah, Brian
I happen to have a similar yes or no in that spicy rice font. Yeah, buddy.
It's spicy rice. Yeah. So
hashtag Google Docs, hashtag all the fonts, hashtag give them all to me.
Right, but hashtag. There you go. I always annoy Brian with that one. So I got a couple of questions, and I think Brian, I think you do too. So here we go with my first one. Question number one: are the right guys, namely Seth Rollins and Kofi Kingston, are the right guys wearing the most important titles in WWE? You first.
I mean, with everything Bray's been doing, I think he deserves to wear the title, and I want to see what he does with it, because maybe he develops minions of some kind. I don't know, because right now all he's doing is collecting photos on the wall, and that's creepy enough as it is. But imagine if he has actual people coming out to the ring with him doing his bidding, like a Ministry of Darkness, but a lot more in your face and a lot less comical. I thought the Ministry of Darkness had a very comical element to it when you boiled it down. Because like after the Undertaker and the Acolytes, it got very, very comical.
Midian, Viscera.
Yeah,
I
just
the Brood though, and the Brood was gangster.
yes. But I would rather it would be Bray, and I would rather it be Samoa Joe holding it on SmackDown. And I know that's a case of, oh, that's Brian being a homer for his guys again. But I mean, I already know what these guys can do as the top guy. We've got and you could probably throw 60 more names out there of wouldn't it be great if this guy had the strap, or wouldn't it be great if this gal had the strap? I'd love to see what they could do with it. But Seth is doing all he can. Kofi's had a great run with it, but it feels like the fall is time to freshen it up and put the belts on somebody else. And no, ladies and gentlemen in Wrestling with Egos land, that does not mean that I think Brock Lesnar should beat Kofi Kingston next week for the World Heavyweight Championship. That's not what I said. I just think it needs to be on some different guys, but I don't want it on Lesnar.
I agree. I'm more okay with Kofi as champ than I am Seth. I gotta be honest. You remember how last week I came to the dark side and I admitted that I'm really becoming a fan of Baron Corbin.
Yes.
And I actually said, damn it, I like Baron Corbin. I hate face Rollins. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate this about as much as I hated a heel Austin. When it was, heel Austin hugging McMahon, and then with the alliance and the two-man power trip, hated everything about it. Everything about it. I hate face Rollins. It's stupid. It doesn't make sense, and it's very, here's a word you never want to use regarding your world champion. Seth Rollins is very campy, and you don't need that for your main dude. Especially since they put more stock in the Universal title than they do the WWE title.
I got another adjective for you.
What?
He's cookie cutter. Variations of the same thing every week.
Yeah, he's very cookie cutter. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Very good. Kofi, I like. But at the same time, you can only do so much with that storyline. That storyline being of chasing the title, chasing the title, chasing the title. What do you do after that? Kind of like Daniel Bryan at WrestleMania 30. As bad as this is going to sound, the best thing that could have ever happened to him was that neck injury, because we didn't have to watch his title run.
Yeah.
We didn't have to watch that. Sadly, that's what we're doing with Kofi. It's slowly just sputtering because it's been Randy Orton. They're not giving him a variety of guys. It's been this long played out angle with Randy Orton. Reminds me a lot of the Randy Orton Christian angle, except we're not just saying one more match. This time we're just saying stupid.
Only not when it counts.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that has killed Kofi's run more than anything else.
Yeah.
I also feel like either you have a dominant champion who can just electrify everybody, i.e. Shawn Michaels 1995, Austin in 98 when it was him versus McMahon, The Rock, things of that nature. Either that or you got to give it to a heel that just everybody can hate. And that dude on SmackDown is one of two guys. It's either Joe or it's Andrade. And personally,
and I also think that Joe would be the best of the bunch at plumbing the middle, if you will. Because I don't know if I was the one that picked up on this. The night that he was demanding an apology from Roman Reigns, and he, went out in the parking lot. Always out in the parking lot. I guess I'll go talk to him. And the car ran into Reigns. There was genuine concern.
Yeah.
It wasn't, because it's written in my script or something, but there was genuine concern, like, oh, who just did that? you know,
Yeah.
who's in that car.
Bro, stay down. Bro, stay down.
Yeah, I mean there was some genuine concern there. So I think he could do that manipulative, what am I this week? What am I next week? That kind of thing.
I think that's the only guy. And honestly and truly, I think if you have that, I think there's only one guy on SmackDown that could be that dominant ass kicking champion that can just excite everyone, and his name's Kevin Owens. And either Andrade or Joe as the heel champ that everybody wants to see die. If it is Joe or Andrade as champ, if I'm booking it, there's one guy chasing him, Ali. Ali's in the chase. But I'm more good with Kofi than I am Seth. Seth got to go as far as being at the top of the mountain. Question numero dos. Did you hear the story that apparently last week in Vegas, Dolph Ziggler and Goldberg got into it at some steakhouse on the Strip? Apparently they got into it and there was a pull apart, and I use that term loosely, where they're just in each other's faces. And as I jokingly say on this show, somebody said something about somebody mama. My question to you, sir, is this. Is this a work or not? Wait, is this a work? Because I'm about to say, wait, with the way our cards are, we can't do work or not. So is this whole Dolph and Goldberg thing a work?
Yes, this is, and you know what? The thought just came to me. This is going to be your special attraction match at WrestleMania or Royal Rumble.
Probably so.
It's going to come to a head somewhere, and it's going to be Dolph Ziggler versus Goldberg, first time ever.
Second time ever. Remember they fought at SummerSlam.
That's right, second time ever.
Yeah, and Goldberg demolished him. So moves on to question number 3. And we'll just quickly do this one. Is Dolph Ziggler boring?
The shelf life is expired on him. I mean,
been expired.
They made a mistake when he cashed in Money in the Bank and won the title that night off of Alberto Del Rio. They made a mistake in not letting him just run with it and see where it went. He should have had a 6 to 8 month run with it.
They killed him that night. They killed him because that pop, when he came out to cash in on Del Rio the night after WrestleMania, that is one of those top 5 biggest pops ever. That one, Shawn winning at the Elimination Chamber, the Hardys at WrestleMania in Orlando, that's on that list of like, oh my gosh. So yeah, they murdered him right there. But at the same time, I also think from a personality standpoint and a promo standpoint, Dolph Ziggler has always put me to sleep. He is that boring. And the sad thing is, it's not a comfortable boring. You know, there's a comfortable boring like going to a college class and having a professor whose lectures are so smooth and his voice is so smooth and soothing that you just can't help but and get the notes from the blonde sitting next to you in class. Buy her a 6-pack and she'll be fine because she's only 19. I'm not condoning it.
What are we doing here? What is?
I'm rambling. Shut up. Ziggler just dull. Ziggler is me without a personality. Boring as hell. Bottom line, I got nothing.
Paints a bleak picture, folks.
I haven't had anything for him in years, and I think he has no redeeming qualities. Didn't you say you had a question?
I did.
Did or do?
I do. Are we okay are we okay with the Shane and Kevin Owens story getting resolved on the premiere of SmackDown Live as opposed to at a major event like a Royal Rumble or WrestleMania?
I totally.
Because we talked about it too, before we came on, and I think we're both of the mindset they're trying to clear the decks of some of these storylines so that others have room to breathe.
Yep.
And this is one of those storylines that got really interesting in the past 2 weeks, but it wasn't interesting for a while because of how they were just what's the word I'm looking for with Kevin? They were just kind of
raising the stakes.
No, well, that's what they've done the past 2 weeks. But before that, the presentation of his character, he won at SummerSlam, and you thought, okay, now we're done with Shane. But then he kept getting pulled back in with Shane. They basically kept okay, I figured it out. They basically castrated him. They took away all of the buzz that he had, this anti-authority, Austin-esque, and now I'm going to give you a $10,000 fine, and I'll make it go away if you're a special guest referee in my match and you call it, you call it like you're supposed to call it, and So I see why they're doing it. I wish the stakes could have been raised at a big event, but it's kind of like RJ said last week, more eyeballs get on the product when it's on a cable network.
Yeah, and at the same time, this is, whether WWE wants to admit this or not, this is a big event. Why? Because this is the first episode on Fox when there's a $1 billion? Like $1 billion deal on the table. You damn right we're swinging for the fences night one. I mean, dude, and if you want proof of that,
I'll give you 2 pieces of proof.
What?
There's 2 segments announced for that SmackDown episode 2. It's Miz TV with Ric Flair.
Kofi and Lesnar.
Yeah, well, that, and then now they had said that Stone Cold's going to make an appearance too. So you've got Miz TV with Hulk and Ric Flair. You've got Lesnar versus Kofi for the championship. You've got Kevin Owens versus Shane in a loser leaves town match, and you've got Stone Cold Steve Austin making an appearance. That just broke last night or this morning or something.
Well, see, the thing is, they are swinging for the fences, and I have one piece of past evidence, one piece of history that tells you that they're going to do it, and so will AEW. They're going to throw everything at episode number 1. And my piece of evidence, Exhibit A to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, 2 words for you: Lex Luger. No, you laugh, but Lex Luger showed up, surprise, 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 on the very first episode of Monday Nitro. Mic drop, and here we go. You don't think? Yeah, and as far as SmackDown is concerned, let me ask you a question. Who made the call to bring in Lex Luger on that episode of Monday Nitro?
Would that be one Mr. Eric Bischoff?
Yes. And isn't that the same guy that's running SmackDown right now?
Okay, I'll spin your question to prediction time.
Okay.
Are you, by making that connection and drawing that line, are you saying that a current AEW person or a recently departed AEW person winds up on SmackDown, or vice versa?
No. I'm not saying.
No to both?
I'm not. No, I'm not. I don't know if there's going to be a surprise show up. If there is a surprise show up, I think it will be more on the AEW side than I think it would be WWE.
We've already got so many guys anyway.
Right.
There isn't room for somebody else.
And the thing is, with the way SmackDown is loaded, there's nobody in the world. Literally, there is only one person in the world that could show up on SmackDown and generate the kind of buzz that would make AEW's debut very quiet. And that's Kazuchika Okada. And that ain't happening. Because, I mean, the other names that you could do are all in AEW. Hey, let's bring in Cody. Let's bring in Kenny Omega. Let's, bring in, this guy or this guy. I mean, everybody else is a wet fart compared to any gigantic momentum. Now, there's a lot of ex-WWE guys that could show up on AEW and be like, whoa, here we go.
Funny you should mention any other name would be a wet fart, because I was working earlier today and I was on my break, and no, I did not fart. But a news item came across my phone and it said WWE reportedly bringing back, and I forget what his real name is, but John Morrison's coming back to WWE.
Oh, God! John Finnegan coming back.
Yeah.
Ah!
His real last name begins with an H or something like that, I think.
I thought it was an F. I thought it was Finnegan or Hennigan.
That's it. Yeah. Johnny Finnegan's coming back. Yeah. And I saw that and I'm like, great. So now we're going to get more of this.
Yeah. Johnny Impact, Johnny Nitro, Johnny Mundo, the Shaman of Sexy, Johnny Survivor Eliminator.
Johnny Parkour.
Yeah. Gag me. Hey, Brian, are you excited about that? Because guess what? Guess what we're going to get? We're going to get Morrison versus Ziggler in a best-of-7 series. My God.
That could be on the Royal Rumble pre-show.
Maybe in
all 7 matches on the pre-show.
Maybe in the parking lot. Oh my God.
John Morrison and Dolph Ziggler and a King of the Road. Never mind.
Except there's no cage around the flatbed.
Right. Yeah. You just gotta parkour. There's parkour. Stay on the flatbed. I dare you.
Now we're playing. And you know what? You know what pay-per-view we should have that at? To make it really literal, Survivor Series.
And we're gonna have it in Germany on the Autobahn. Good luck.
Yes. No. I-20 in between Birmingham and Atlanta, because trust me, I've driven that stretch of road way too many times in my life, and them bastards are crazy. Somebody will die.
I'll make a couple of calls, and we'll
yeah, man. Call the Alabama Department of Transportation. Call AlDOT. Tell them I want to talk to somebody. Get them on the phone, damn it. So many things going on. And we thought that this week would be a great time to actually do this, because this is something that we've had a lot of fun with and we've got a lot of great feedback from. It's our GOAT conversation, the greatest of all time.
And keep that feedback coming, by the way.
Oh, God, yeah, keep the feedback coming. We love it. We can talk about, greatest of all time is Flair or Hogan or Shawn or blah, blah, blah. Yeah, those are all easy answers. We want to explore the not so easy answers, the ones that you're not thinking of, because part of this show, we want you to think. We want to give you different perspectives. So that's why we've given you part 1, Chris Jericho, part 2, The Undertaker. I'm starting to realize that Teddy Long impression isn't half bad, so I got to do it. This week we give you the phenomenal AJ Styles. And all right, so we have a list of criteria that we look at, and I believe you have 6 categories. Right? No, I added one. Remember?
What did you add?
Intangibles.
Okay.
So, Brian, if you wouldn't mind, why don't you give the class those those 6 pieces of criteria that we look at, as we will display them here on the screen for you.
I would love to. The 6 criteria that we debate whenever we put forth a nominee for the greatest of all time discussion. The first one is career longevity, where they've been around for a long time or just a cup of coffee. Storyline relevance. Are they involved in a major storyline? Doesn't always have to be for a championship, but is it something that you're talking about the next day? Mic skills. Do you talk people into the building? When you've got the people in the building, how engrossing are you on the mic? Are you winning championships? Because if you're not here for the belt, it doesn't really matter, does it? Your overall health. How, are you a reckless person like a Jeff Hardy, or are you a safe worker? And that means you're around for a long time. And then, as Patrick put forth on our Undertaker episode, he added in that 6th very sneaky good category of intangibles. So those are the things that we will be discussing going forward with all of these installments of this segment.
Yeah, and the intangibles obviously are something different that this particular wrestler brings to the table that sets them apart from everybody else. For The Undertaker, it was the streak. It was the mystique that he gave that character, things of that nature. Because while The Undertaker didn't win that many titles like Jericho or even AJ Styles that we're about to talk about, Undertaker's mystique is just it's the Undertaker reverence. Just, you hear the gong and you're like, oh crap.
And then we also said the intangibles for Chris Jericho, his chameleonic tendencies.
Yeah. And his ability to reinvent himself over and over and over again. So let's talk AJ Styles, and let's get the easy one out of the way. And that would be championships. AJ Styles has won the world title in every major promotion he's competed in. He is a former, not only a TNA, but an NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He is a former Ring of Honor World Champion, IWGP Heavyweight Champion, and WWE Champion. He's been, I think, TNA Tag Champs. I think TNA X Division Champ as well. He's got, WWE US Champ. He has the championship pedigree that you want for this type of discussion, bar none.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that was in my notes. I mean, titles seem to glom onto this guy.
Oh, yeah.
And for all of the other reasons that we're going to talk about, his in-ring style, his, ability to stay healthy, he's a guy that you can put a title on with confidence because you also know then that his quality of matches is going to be second to none.
Absolutely.
He's going to be able to pull a 5-star match out of anybody you can name, and we can just go up, just and a confession of mine, I'm a bit late to the party on AJ Styles, because
right.
Again, a lot of these matches you're talking about in other promotions I have not seen, and definitely not the TNA stuff, definitely not the Ring of Honor stuff, but I was reading off some of the guys he had rivalries with in Ring of Honor. I need to look up some of those matches. I mean, the fact that Bryan Danielson then was there and having matches with him, and Samoa Joe was there and having matches with him, and CM Punk was there and having matches with him. I mean, those 3 guys alone could be the backbone of a successful career anywhere.
AJ Styles has had a rivalry with Samoa Joe in every major promotion he's been in, with the exception of New Japan. He had a massive rivalry with him, title involved, in Ring of Honor, TNA, and WWE. If that's not saying something for either one of them, then we have a problem. Career longevity. AJ Styles has been around for a while. AJ Styles is our age. He's in his 40s.
I think 2000 is when he broke into the business, if I'm not correct.
Yep.
Or if
no,
I'm not mistaken.
99, because he started in toward the very end of WCW. Well, no, he'd been around, in the independents like NWA Wildside and some other like southern-based indies, like I said, NWA Wildside and a couple other ones. But he got his big break in the late run of WCW. Toward the end, I think they were working on like the cruiserweight tag titles, and he and his former tag team partner Air Paris were in that tournament, and he had some great matches until WCW bought them out. Great high flying, spot fest. There you go. But he never got picked up in that, and then became literally one of the founding blocks of TNA. He was on the very first bleeping pay-per-view. When it was a weekly pay-per-view that they charged $9.99 for. Which I always thought was stupid, but whatever. He was there from the word go. He was there before they were on TV. And he was a part of so many, transitioning here, so many major storylines in TNA. I won't go through them, but I will tell you this. And this kind of goes into another. I'm kind of weaving through here, Brian. So if it kind of sounds like I'm not making sense, stop me, okay?
Oh, I've given up on that a long time ago. Don't worry.
But I want this to make sense.
I know. I'm kidding.
He was there when TNA started. He won a lot of titles in TNA. He was a part of so many major storylines in TNA. The rise of AJ Styles just by himself. Then he was a member of Ric Flair's stable Fortune. He was in that feud with Fortune versus Immortal. He had that feud, him versus Dixie Carter, which was when he was on his way out. And before that, he also had a feud during the final run of Aces and Eights, and a lot of other ones beyond that. Those are the major ones. Cool. Here's the one thing about AJ Styles that I would put under intangibles, and this, I think, is a big one. He kept TNA relevant. He kept TNA afloat.
Yeah.
I'm be completely honest. You can take a few guys out of TNA that weren't WWE guys to begin with, like Hardy and the Dudleys and blah, 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 blah. If it were not for AJ Styles, we would not know about Bobby Roode. We would not know about Eric Young. We damn sure wouldn't know about EC3. We would know about Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe would have found his way into WWE one way or the other. But it's because of him. We damn sure wouldn't know about Drake Maverick. Even though he is hilarious as hell, we wouldn't know a damn thing about him. But AJ Styles kept that afloat. It was him, especially after the Jarretts sold TNA to Panda Energy and the Carters. AJ kept that company alive because whether he was a face or a heel, people paid money to see AJ Styles wrestle because
Right.
AJ Styles at that point, AJ Styles in the mid 2000s is what Okada and Omega are now. The best on the planet, undisputed. There is no
television.
Yeah. You want them on television. And why Vince McMahon did not bring AJ Styles on 5 years ago is beyond me. One of his greatest oversights. But to me, that is a massive intangible because you literally kept an entire company afloat because of what you can do in the ring.
And this is what I kind of seize on with AJ, and I've done this with Jericho and I've done this with Undertaker too. But you look at, getting back to your storyline point, you look at who he's been involved with.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm going to surprise you with some of these names that I'm going to rattle off. You're going to be like, oh, you've been doing some research. You've been going deep.
Yep.
Because there's the obvious ones that I've already mentioned.
Yes? Can we stay, because I'm trying to be vague about this, can we stay in the United States for right now?
Okay, I can.
Okay.
I'll eliminate 2 names from this list then, because you want me to stay in the United States. And this is the totality of the promotions he's been in, U.S. based. He's had rivalries with Daniel Bryan. He's had rivalries with Samoa Joe. He's had rivalries with CM Punk. He's had rivalries with Roman Reigns, Chris Jericho, John Cena, and a name you thought I was never going to mention, Christopher Daniels.
One of his best friends.
Yes.
I'll do you a couple better.
I'm sure you can, but I just wanted to, have a vanity moment.
He's also had rivalries with Bobby Roode.
Okay.
He's also had rivalries with Frankie Kazarian.
Yes.
He's also had rivalries with James Storm. Also had rivalries with one Kurt Angle. Oh,
forgot about Kurt Angle.
Kurt Angle, AJ Styles. Damn. That is one of. There was a certain match AJ Styles had in Japan where I told you, Brian, this is the match you need to see if you want to truly see what AJ Styles brings to the table now. What AJ Styles used to bring into the table was a TNA match, him and Kurt Angle. Holy crap balls. And he also had a rivalry with my favorite wrestler ever, Sting. His rivalries are a who's who of professional wrestling, bar none. And then he goes to Japan after his TNA deal expires, and the game changes. And that's why. Because AJ Styles took the work that Prince Devitt, who we now know as Finn Balor, took Prince Devitt's work with Bullet Club. And he and the Bucks and Kenny and that group elevated it. And then AJ left to go to WWE, and then obviously Bullet Club kept going. But it was AJ Styles that helped make Bullet Club not relevant, but commercial. And commercially relevant. Because with AJ, merch started flying.
Yep. All the Bullet Club shirts that I know our brother in arms, RJ, probably owns like 30 million of.
Right. I have 2. I only have 2. But he did all of that. And then we get back to talking about his quality of matches. And I give you 2 names that Brian had on his list. And if you're a wrestling fan and you love AJ Styles, they're on your list. Number 1, when he won the IWGP Heavyweight Championship, he beat some guy named the Rainmaker, Kazuchika Okada, in a great match. And then his final big match, and Brian's looking up to the heavens like, oh, thank you, Jesus, for giving us this one. His final big match in New Japan was with the king of strong style himself, Shinsuke Nakamura. And
If you're going to have a match be your first match that you've ever seen from the New Japan promotion, it might as well be AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura at Wrestle Kingdom 2016.
Right. And that was Brian's first introduction into Japan. And I get a text message from him one night, 11:30, midnight, something like that. He's like, "Oh my God, this is one of the greatest things I've ever seen in wrestling."
The TV shut off after that match, and I just stood there staring at the blank. I sat there for like another 10 minutes staring at the blank TV, like trying to process what I had just seen. It was that mind altering for me.
Yeah. And then I called him and we talked about it, and he was just speechless. For the record, first time I saw it, I was speechless too, because it's like, holy crap, this is beautiful. Before Kenny Omega was the best bout machine, AJ Styles was.
And I would argue still is. Because another thing I have down, and I was talking with one of my coworkers at my job about this, because he saw my notes and he's like, "Well, what are you talking about here?" And I went into the fact that it doesn't matter who you put opposite him. And this is another hallmark of a guy that's worthy of GOAT discussion. Because some of those names we read out before, you wouldn't think, "Oh, am I going to get top quality matches out of them?" But it doesn't matter who you put opposite AJ Styles. You could put this schlub in the ring opposite AJ Styles, and I dare say he could squeeze a 3-star match out of me somehow. He's that good. He's effortless. And the other thing I like about him is he works safe.
Yes.
You don't hear about injuries like, "Oh, AJ Styles is out for 8 months with a torn rotator cuff or something like that, or a torn meniscus or whatever." He worked, yes, he has all these big eye-popping moves, but he does them in such a way that it's safe. So you then feel empowered to take some risks with him too, and you wind up making magic in the ring. And he's done that with so many guys, and I'm sure there's people I'm leaving out too.
He had a match of the year candidate with Roman bleeping Reigns. Before Roman started realizing, oh, wait, this is how to have a wrestling match. When we all hated Roman, he had a match of the year candidate worthy bout with Roman Reigns. Oh my God, he's amazing. And then he one-ups that by having the greatest match John Cena has ever had.
And I think that might be, the period end of sentence when you are such a talent that you can get everybody else around you. Well, I got to up my game. If AJ Styles is going to do all this stuff, I can't be left behind. And that might be the greatest endorsement of AJ Styles that we've given you yet. Is he's coaxing this out of you as the guy across the ring from him.
One thing I do want to touch on this, and I think this probably will wrap this up for us. We do have to talk about the negative. There is, like with everybody, there is some negative. And he makes up for this in ways similar to what our last discussion was, and that's mic work. AJ Styles is not the best worker. And unfortunately for AJ Styles, don't get me wrong, I have no problems with this. But I need y'all to listen to me very carefully. AJ kind of talks the way I do when I decide I'm going to stop enunciating. He's kind of got that southern that southern drawl going, because my man is from Central Georgia, born and raised there. I know where Gainesville, Georgia is. There's not much around there except a very beautiful lake. And let's be honest, in professional wrestling, the Southern accent doesn't really work often because it's kind of looked at as a little hokey. Not gonna lie. I believe it was Jeff Foxworthy that once said, people hear the Southern accent and automatically deduct 100 IQ points. He's not lying. But at the same time, AJ doesn't really cut a great promo. However, whereas The Undertaker didn't need to, because, it adds to the mystery of The Undertaker and the mystique of The Undertaker, AJ Styles didn't have to talk people into the building. You put AJ Styles' name on the marquee, oh crap. AJ didn't have to talk you into the building. The proof was already in the pudding. AJ Styles is wrestling. We're going to have a great match. We're going to be able to see AJ Styles work, and nobody does it better.
Exactly.
It would honestly and truly go back to the 80s and pretend that Ric Flair couldn't talk. He'd still get people in. But the fact that Flair could talk, he's kind of what we would consider a gold standard in this conversation, which he belongs in the discussion, but we're not going to waste our time talking about it because, duh. Why? Does AJ Styles belong in this discussion? For me, it's emphatically yes. For a multitude of reasons. Number one, hands down, in-ring work. He was untouchable for the better part of 5 to 8 years. Could not hold a candle to him. The game, everybody else, it's kind of like Tiger Woods when Tiger was at the top of golf. Tiger wasn't going anywhere. You had to come get him. And I don't think you can even say this about Chris Jericho. He made everybody else work harder because he was putting amazing quality matches together, and he still is. But there's a lot of guys now, younger guys, that are putting these quality matches together that are on par with AJ, but they cite, I'll give you a great example, Ricochet. Ricochet cites AJ Styles and Christopher Daniels as two of his inspirations, two of his benchmarks. And they're contemporaries now. That ain't saying something about AJ Styles. I don't know what is. And I hated the fact that RJ isn't here because RJ and AJ have something in common. And damn it, they're both Georgia Bulldog fans. Which means, no, AJ Styles does not belong on this list. I'm kidding. It's not Georgia Hate Week in the house. It's only Mississippi State Week house. Mississippi State Hate Week house. God, I can't even say.
You need to get your hate week straight.
Mississippi Hate Week in this house. Good sweet heavens, I can't talk. Brian, what do you think as far as, the finality of your argument, which I'm assuming is a lot like mine, where, yeah, AJ belongs in this conversation?
He definitely belongs in the conversation. And moreover, AJ is an example for guys like me who have just been, WWE. It's proof that, and we're seeing this more and more with how other guys have made it to the big time, but he's living proof that it's okay if you don't get signed by the Monolith in Stamford, Connecticut, right off the bat. There's other ways to get there. And we have any number of examples of people that are proving that there's other ways to get there. We have all the folks over in New Japan. We have what Cody and the Bucks and Tony Khan are doing with AEW. But since 99, 2000, we've had AJ Styles being a trailblazer. Fine, I'll go to Ring of Honor and I'll tear the house down. And I'll elevate the guys I'm in the ring with because I have that much pride in my work. Okay, now I'm going to go to TNA and I'm going to do the same thing. And I'm going to have rivalries with all these other guys that we were mentioning. Okay, and as if that's not enough, fine. I'm going to go across the globe, to a foreign country, and I'm going to become as revered, and some might argue more revered than your countrymen are.
And get over just like that.
Yes, and I'm almost embarrassed to admit this. When I prepared my notes, I completely forgot to mention all the goings on with Bullet Club. I don't even know how I forgot that, but shame on me. You
Yeah,
know, yeah.
Brian, stick your
Yes.
hand out. Stick your hand out. Bad Brian.
Yeah, I know.
Bad Brian.
And then
You better be glad RJ's not here because RJ'd be ripping your ass to shreds right now.
That's okay. He'll watch the episode after you post it, and he'll rip me to shreds next week, and I'm fine with that. I freely admit, you know.
Yeah, you would.
And then to do all of that stuff in Japan, and then okay, now I'm gonna up the ante even more. I'm gonna get signed by WWE. I'm gonna debut at the Royal Rumble in 2016, and we all know what a reaction he got from those folks in Philadelphia.
Pop.
Yeah, I mean it was just, you know, and he lasted about 30 minutes in that Royal Rumble. Maybe I think he eliminated a few guys, and then he went on to do the stuff with Jericho and do the stuff with Cena and do the stuff with Roman Reigns and all this stuff. And another one of my favorite matches that I've said before on this show happened by accident. You know, I mean, yes, at that match, if you have not seen was it No Mercy 2017, I think, when, you know, the mono bout was going around and it affected a lot of people. One of the matches that it changed, it was supposed to be Bray Wyatt versus Finn Balor. It was supposed to be Sister Abigail versus the Demon. I'm glad Bray got mono because SmackDown loaned AJ Styles to Raw for that pay-per-view, and that was an electric match. I put it forth as one of my underrated, you know, sneaky good matches last month.
It's been homework on this show.
Yes, the anticipation is electric because when AJ comes down and then the Demon comes out and they're looking at each other like, okay, let's go. And they put on a 20-minute instant classic.
Yeah.
And they could have gone for 20 more minutes if they would have let him.
Yeah.
So that's all you need.
Absolutely. Truth be told, I want your opinion on this. If you know, we're ignoring the names like Hogan, Flair, you know, Cena. We're ignoring those names that you could consider that are shoe-ins for Austin, Rock. We're ignoring those guys. Triple H, we're ignoring that. Of these three guys, who would you say is most worthy of the title of greatest of all time? Completely unofficial. Just kind of one of those gun to the head moments. There is no wrong answer. Just saying.
It's become clear to me as time has gone on, as we've done more of the GOAT installments, how filled out Chris Jericho's resume is.
Mm-hmm.
That episode, I'll be honest, as RJ and I were going on that night, and we started, you know, just talking about each criteria, and I just started realizing he's had a sneaky fine career. You can't ask him to do anything else. You know, he's reinvented himself. What did you say?
You just say, ask him.
I mean, you can't ask for anything more out of this guy. So I think, you know, based on the three now, not that I'm not the biggest, you know, one of the biggest Undertaker fans out there, and not that I don't appreciate everything that we've, you know, iterated here about AJ Styles, but so far, I think Jericho is your leader in the clubhouse.
I don't think there's a discussion in that. I totally agree that it's Jericho. And we keep going back in our conversations, even off the show. It's that ability to reinvent himself. It's that intangible. And it's nobody else in the history of the business has been able to do it that much. So, sorry. But again, I love having these conversations with you. I love having these conversations with RJ. I look forward to doing so many more. And I got an idea for the next one.
Oh, Lord.
No. Kind of got an idea for the next one. I'm going to wait for RJ to talk about this. We'll kind of figure it out. And when the time is right, I'll drop it on you. But I'll go ahead and tell you, This particular wrestler is not an American, and he's not a Canadian.
Okay.
Let me rephrase it. Because actually, I think he technically. I'm going with one of two people, and one of the two people technically is an American, but you wouldn't know it. He is not a Caucasian or an African American.
Okay.
I'll spoil it. One is a Latino, and the other one's Japanese.
Okay.
And we will discuss. At some point, we're going to talk about both of them. And I think you make the argument that one of them is the greatest of all time at what they are. But maybe not the greatest of all time ever. But you know what? I am going to spoil it. We'll schedule it. But the next guy I want to talk about might be the greatest high flyer of all time. Definitely the greatest masked man of all time. Rey Mysterio Jr.
Booyaka, booyaka.
I can't wait to have that discussion with you. I can't wait to have that discussion with RJ. And guys, I can't wait to have that discussion with you as well. Hey, we've got a couple of weeks before we get into this, because obviously we got AEW and SmackDown to talk about next week. We're probably, just off the top of my head, a good 3 weeks away from this. Send us in your criteria. Send us in what you think, any snippets that you think that make Rey Mysterio Jr. worthy of being called the GOAT. You know, email us. wrestlingwithegos@gmail.com. You can hit any of the three of us up on Twitter. I'm at Rant Mode On. Brian is at bcrego15. RJ's at RJ Eman with 2 N's. Don't forget the Google repository, bit.ly/withegos, and especially for our friends on Anchor Podcast, make sure you're liking the show. Check us out every week. For those of you guys that are checking us out on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, click that bell. That way you get all the notifications of when we do stuff, including the bonus content like you guys have seen you guys are seeing this week from me and RJ talking about my homework assignment, the Kennel from Hell match. Ugh. Hope you guys enjoyed that, because RJ and I had fun doing that. It turned into a little bit of a Mystery Science Theater. Real quick, go ahead.
And a quick note about my homework. RJ was kind enough to have the first ever in history Wrestling with Egos dual homework assignment. He's a differentiated instructor over there, because he's given us double-tracked homework.
No, he just wanted to give you something good and give me something god-awful, because, it was a receipt.
No, but still, I mean, he's differentiating his instruction, and as an educator, I can appreciate that.
Yes.
I was given the G1 Climax final from 2017 involving Hiroki Goto and Kenny Omega. And sadly, I was not able to complete my homework this week, so I need to beg for forgiveness from the Wrestling with Egos public, because the New Japan site was down for maintenance, unfortunately. Seth, calm down. I can give you a screenshot.
This is the substitute teacher. The substitute teacher doesn't know anything about this. You're just going to have to handle your homework with RJ when he comes back next week.
Sir, yes, sir. So I was kind of upset when I saw that. I'm like, really, down for maintenance for 2 days? Come on, you're killing me here.
Yep.
So you will get my unvarnished reaction to that match, which I'm sure will be a barn burner.
It is. You have no idea. It is. It's a good match. So
you'll get that reaction next week.
Guys, as always, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Brian, nice kicking it old school with you for once.
Yes, sir.
Kind of cool that you and I got to do a homework assignment, just me and you, since you and RJ did the very first one. So very cool to kind of do this from the early stages. RJ, we hope you keep feeling better. Guys, as always, appreciate it. Shout out to the wives, shout out to the families. Then again, when it comes to us, it's all just one big, crazy, happy family. Because, brothers and sisters and nieces and nephews and kids and all that good stuff. And all that good shiz. See, I almost said it, but I was being good. So we're going to get out of here so I can keep the number of dirty words at 0. For the disembodied voice of RJ, wherever he may be, for my best friend, Brian, my name is Patrick. This has been Wrestling with Egos. And until next week, that's our story. We're sticking to it.